This is
Brighton's finest.
bringing the artists closer to you.
Juice.
You've got the new album coming out tomorrow. I imagine it's always a bit of a special day, a bit like having a birthday in a way, is it?
It is. It's very much like having a birthday. That's exactly how it feels.
So you've got a cake?
We've got no cake.
No.
Unless you count the rider here at the radio station, which is a lot of cakes.
Yeah.
But we've put out quite a lot of records recently. We've put out the blues album in this year as well. We've got Horizontalism in 2016 and Hard Believer in 2015.
Yeah.
But it still feels like, I don't know, release day just means it's real now. It's not theoretical.
Yeah.
It's actually going to happen. People are actually going to have opinions.
They're actually going to be able to hear
They're going to think it's good or bad, and everybody gets to hear what we've been thinking about for 3 or 4 months now. So
is that something you take on board? Is that something you kind of look out for? Or do you just try and get rid of the noise, i.e. what people think about it, critics or fans?
Yeah, I learned a long time ago that if you believe the good press, you've got to believe the bad press.
Yeah.
So I don't read any press. That's pretty much simple, because if one review says it's the best record ever, and then you go, oh yeah, I agree, and then the next review says, God, it's a load of self-indulgent rubbish, then can't believe one and not the other, right? So I don't read never read your own press.
Well, somebody said it's good to have really good reviews or really bad reviews, but we don't want any sort of average in between.
I hate average. Average is the worst. 6 out of 10 is the worst score you can possibly get. I'd rather the journo gave it 1 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. It's the worst thing possible to just be average, isn't it, really? All right,
Yeah, it's all right.
So,
well, I think it's great.
Thanks, man. Thanks a lot.
I've been listening to it quite a few times in the last few days. Resurgam is the name of the album. Just on its title, apparently it's something to do with an old church from your native Cornwall. Is that right? You're Cornwall.
That's right. Yeah.
Born and raised.
Yeah, it's like a little special place that it's always been part of my life. It's right next to this big beach, and I used to go to this beach as a kid with my parents. I used to walk past this church to get to this beach. It became like one of my special places in the world. And so this little church has kind of figured at lots of crossroads in my life where I need to go somewhere and have a strong word with myself, or have a massive argument with God, or whatever it is. And I noticed on the last visit this beautiful painting on the wall that had the word Resurgam on it, and it means I will rise again. And it just touched a real nerve. And then I wrote a song about that kind of thing, about all of these moments that I've been to this place and how I've always kind of, risen out of these issues or come back from these issues or problems or whatever. And it seemed to touch a nerve with the vibe of the record and the vibe of where the band is at. So, it turned into the first track we recorded, and the title track of the album.
Okay. It seems to be a sort of a theme, if there is a theme really, it's sort of a general theme to the album. This kind of idea of dealing with the past, dealing with issues, but trying to forge ahead, basically.
It's funny because I didn't realise that at the time, but having spoken to a lot of journos over the past couple of weeks, I definitely realised there are some themes in this record that I didn't really realise that a lot of the journos are picking up on, and definitely the thinking about the past and moving forward in a positive way, in a strong and confident way, is definitely a theme, I think, running through it. Didn't realise at the time, but I definitely think it is.
So when you're making a track, when you're doing a sort of typical Fink track, is it based on a rough idea that you've come up with, and then you sort of present it to everybody, and this is, let's see where this goes, or is any of it a result of a jam in the studio? How does it work? Yeah,
combinations, mate. All kinds of different. In the early days, it would be I would write a song and the band would work out what to play. But now it's very much more collaborative than that.
Yeah.
Some songs start with a jam, like Resurgam started with a jam together in Berlin. Other songs, like Not Everything Was Better in the Past, they kind of that's like a traditional Fink song that I wrote in the studio on my own with a guitar, kind of trad style. It's just moments in life just provide you with these little moments of inspiration, or like little things that you think about, or things that remind you of things that happened in the past. So, and because you're a musician and you're traveling around and you're playing music all the time, there's certain riffs and melodies that suit very particular moods, and occasionally you can put these two together. Every track has a different process, like everybody else, but the great thing about this record is we could take all of these demos into the studio with Flood, who's a bit of a legend, then rework them all. We were in the studio in London for 2 months. We had plenty of time. And we just went at these tracks, sort of took them apart, put them back together again, mashed them up, deconstructed them, rebuilt them. I mean, it was just a fascinating experience to work with such a legend.
Brighton's finest.
Jeff Hemmings.
Jeff Hemmings.
This is
Juice 107.2.
Brighton's finest.
Words of the Wise started with Timmy, the drummer. He brought it in as a kind of indie banger. And it was kind of like a big kind of indie track. And then I did a piano version of it in the studio because we weren't really getting anywhere with it. So what happens is we got in the studio and we toured with Douglas Dare. We did an American tour with him and a really nice European tour with him when we did the Fall Into the Light tour and the Hard Believer tours. He was great, and we love him. He's a lovely friend of ours and a great pianist. So we sort of said to him, can you run into the studio for the day and lay it down? We played it live together, so it was really quite a nice moment. I played it upright piano. He played the grand and sung it, and what made the record was a live take, a beautiful live moment. It's basically a song about when you know something's going to end, every single second gets so much sweeter, when you know something's going to come to an end. It doesn't have to be in a sad way at all. It can be in a really awesome, I'm going to enjoy every moment of this because I know it's going to end. Obviously, you can think of that as in a relationship and go sad on it, or you can think of that like a holiday and think happy. But yeah, it's about that feeling that when something's coming to an end, every single moment it suddenly changes and gets very sweet.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's a lovely track. And Day 22, are you able to talk about that one at all?
Of course, yeah. Day 22, that's about maybe taking a moment in life to realise that you could do with offloading a bit of baggage.
Yeah.
Offloading a bit of something which is holding you down or dragging you down a little bit, and it could be an addiction, or it could be a psychological addiction that you have.
Yeah.
In my case, it's quite specific, but in everybody else's case, it can be anything. You can be addicted to being miserable.
Sure.
if you want to be.
Well, we've all got our addictions, haven't we?
we've all got our addictions. It's totally. So Day 22 was just my routine to give up what I needed to get rid of, which was I could do whatever I want on the 22nd day. I had to be 21 days sober. It really worked out for me. I really got to shift a few things I needed to get rid of, and that's why we like it as a kind of funky, euphoric moment that's got quite an aggressive kick on it, because it's like, obviously I love doing what I used to do, but I'm not doing it anymore, and it's that tension between like, I'm happy about it, I'm pissed off about it, I know it's the right thing to do, but that sucks, and all that stuff.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks for telling me about that. But I just do have to finally ask you a bit about, because you live in Berlin, don't you, now?
I do, yeah. I moved Brighton to Berlin, 3 years ago.
It was 3 years ago. And what was the was the reason why you decided to go to Berlin?
Well,
What's wrong with Brighton?
I know. I sold my place in Seven Dials.
Yeah.
I just needed a change, man. And Brighton's just lovely. And like everybody else, I moved down to Brighton from London and said to myself, I'm going to be there for like 3 years. And then 10 years later, I was still in Seven Dials. And I think I just said to myself, dude, if you don't leave Brighton now, you're probably never going to leave Brighton.
I'm beginning to think
cool with that? And I decided that I wasn't cool with that. So I sold my house, I sold my car, bought a ticket and moved to Berlin. And I've loved it ever since. It's been fantastic.
Excellent. You're doing a big tour. You're not going to be playing in the Brighton area. I'm assuming that you're not avoiding Brighton, but it just so happens to be not part of the schedule this time around.
I know, it sucks. The only UK dates we're doing are London, Manchester and Glasgow.
Yeah.
Europe's a big place, man, and then we're on a 3-month tour just for Europe. No, we're not going to do Concorde 2. It's a shame.
Well, next time, maybe.
Concorde 2 in December, that's a tough sell for me. But and I don't think we're big enough to go anywhere near the Dome at this point, so that's the problem with Brighton. It's a real tricky one.
Yeah, there aren't
You've got a lot of venues that are tiny for great when you're starting out.
Yeah.
You got one venue in the middle, which is Concorde 2, and then the next one up is the Dome.
Right.
So we're trapped between Concorde 2 and Dome right now.
Okay.
If only there was a 1200 cat we could play, that would be awesome.
This is
Juice.
Brighton's finest.
Bringing the artists closer to you.